Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fearless Floyd Show. As always, I am your host, Fearless Floyd, and this is a pre recorded video. But as you see from the thumbnail, Noel Benoist is back. NSA whistleblower, 13th seat for Majestic 12. And here's part 2 of the Kennedy Brothers series, Robert F. Kennedy. If you didn't catch the video that we did in part 1 of 3, which was John F. Kennedy, President Kennedy. Next, we will be doing Senator Ed Kennedy. So we'll cover the 3 Kennedy brothers, even though there were 4. So stay tuned. I'll be right back with Noel Benoist. Hello, everyone, and we are back. And again, I am very honored and pleasured to welcome to the show Noel Benoist. And today we will talk about part 2 of the Kennedy Brothers series. We did part 1 on John F. Kennedy. This next one that we're going to do now will be on Robert F. Kennedy, and then we will do one again on Senator Edward Kennedy, fondly known as Teddy. And without further ado, the illustrious, infamous whistleblower for the NSA and 13th seat for Majestic 12, Noel Benoist. How you doing, sir?
I'm too stubborn to quit, so I woke up breathing this morning, and that made it a good day.
Right?
The boys didn't get me yet.
Yeah, my good day is waking up with 6 pillows in my bed, because when you're in prison, pillows are contraband and you can't have pillows. But when I wake up hugging a pillow, I know I'm safe and secure.
There you go.
All right, so we're going to dive into the Robert F. Kennedy story. If you guys didn't catch the first part 1 of John F. Kennedy, go check that out. These aren't in any particular order. We're trying to keep it in a timeline as they occurred. But, we're going to address the Kennedy brothers, and then we're going to have to digress a little bit and hit MLK and some other topics. So look forward to that. All right. Well, where do you want to start, Noel?
Well, actually, we can start with when John was murdered, assassinated by the orchestration of MJ-12. Basically, Johnson, it scared him, and I can see a person being scared per se, but when you enter office as president, vice president, when you enter military, you agree to lay down your life to protect America, the Constitution of the United States, and the citizens of America. So, on the one hand, I know how MJ-12 played him and scared him. On the other hand, it irritated the tar out of me, and I think it irritated the tar out of Robert, because Johnson's supposed to be a man. He's supposed to be a Texan, tough. And when you're tough, you stand up to the fight. No matter who's coming at you, you might not know if you're going to live through it, but you're going to take every possible good blow that you can take. You're going to strike every possible good strike that you can strike. And if you keep striking, you got a chance of coming out with a victory. And that's one thing that I learned early when I was young and was more I guess it increased later as I went through things. And it's basically that. As a matter of fact, that's what makes the difference between, I think, guys that make it in SEAL training and in Green Berets, etc., and the ones who don't. You've got to realize, as long as you're alive, you can make one more stroke. You can take one more step. You can fire one more round. You can lob one more grenade. You can do something to possibly take you in the direction you need to go in until you're not alive anymore. And if you're not alive anymore, at that point, it doesn't matter because you're done. And Johnson just didn't have that. Whereas Robert did. And of course, Robert worked with his brother as Attorney General. So both of them were very up to date on everything that Elvis and Marilyn Monroe had informed them about. As a matter of fact, some of what Elvis picked up on and some of what Marilyn was picking up on, there was some stuff going on over in Czechoslovakia, and I think the government was involved. We never tagged any large portion of government being involved, but there was government involvement, I'm sure. And they had a factory over there producing like your AK-47 and those, your choice weapon for your Czechoslovakians, and it's a pretty good weapon. And they would produce one with a serial number, and one would go under the table without a serial number. Now, those weapons and drugs were coming across the sea, that's by Czechoslovakia there, across the sea into Germany, and then they would go from Germany to Luxembourg, and from Luxembourg to both Canada and England, depending upon which one they had the best route as far as their security or being able to make it. And then from Canada, they'd come down into the US. MJ-12 was involved in that, and their whole CIA was involved in it. Their excuse was that it's going to reveal more drug bosses and they're going to get more information from it. And the president couldn't know because he had to have deniability. That was almost always their excuse. But millions, billions even, one small deal, $411 million, went where? And there were large amounts of money just basically vanishing, disappearing. And of course, that is actually one of the reasons they would have a pair of pliers that cost $2 at the store, and it costs $2 million when it's on a requisition form with a number on it. Well, we need off the books money for black ops. Their excuses are really excellent excuses per se, but they're a dime a dozen, and they're not even worth a dime. And Robert was digging into that, and he was going to get into the truth, and he was going to continue what his brother started because he knew the entire plan. And he wanted to basically finish John Kennedy's entire plan for the world, for the economy, for security, for everything, in order to basically honor his brother and make sure that John Kennedy didn't die for no reason. The trouble was, and this is still a trouble today, Washington, D.C. politicians are so ingrained in talking, they don't know when to shut up. And, you know, they've heard the old saying, loose lips sink ships. And they not only have loose lips, most politicians in D.C. are a motor mouth. And they treat D.C. like it's a tennis match. And, oh, well, the Republicans are going to get beat by the Democrats this time. Well, we're going to beat the Democrats and Republicans, and back and forth, back and forth. And even this last election, they're sending me polls to fill out. And I've told them several times, my people don't fill out polls. We are not stupid enough to tell the enemy how things stand and what we're doing and what we're going to do. And Robert basically confided in too many people. And one he definitely shouldn't have confided in was Johnson, because Johnson was scared. So they scare him a little bit and he tells them too much. And that was his main downfall. They knew where he was going, what he would do. So they orchestrated his death pretty much the same way they orchestrated Kennedy's death, just with different people. I think the guy's name was Sirhan or whatever. And they knew that he would basically do the job. And then they could blame radicals, Islamic radicals or whatever. And they could point the blame elsewhere. And that's how that was their main plan for that assassination.
How did they find Sirhan? Was he selected, or was he kind of like Oswald, where he wanted to be involved in that and they twisted it all up for him?
In 1947, they started expanding and recruiting. And they would recruit under the guise of, we're serving God and country. You're going to be one of the most top secret agents. And you're going to be like a James Bond, and they would appeal to the ego of famous athletes who were really good at athletics. They would appeal to the ego of brilliant people. And that's their main bait. And then as they're pulling them in, they're like a cult. They pull them in. The more they pull them in, the higher they'll take them. Mormonism of today has gone through a lot of changes. They've come closer to the traditional church. The original Mormonism, Joseph Smith was what they call a peepstone gazer. He would put rocks in a hat, like my hat here, put rocks in there, except he'd have the big brim hat. And then he'd put his face up to it and he'd shake it. And then he'd put his hat back on, take the rocks out, and claim he saw a vision of where a treasure was. And he would draw a treasure map and sell it to gullible people.
And so this is the same John Smith that founded the
Joseph Smith, the founder of the Mormon Church.
Okay.
Yeah. He was a peepstone gazer. And he would sell these maps to gullible people. Okay. So one map he actually sold and accidentally led to people found some golden plates. So he said these golden plates were a heavenly thing, and an angel showed him, and he called them the Aram and the Sumim. And he translated all this stuff by this Aram and the Sumim. Well, some of his followers actually believed that it was. And so you would think of Ireland. They allowed some linguists to see those plates. Well, they were real plates, but they were nothing heavenly. They had the Greek procedure for embalming engraved on them. Now, they were found in the U.S. I found a scarab that dates back to the time of Ramses and Moses in the U.S. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, those people were coming here way back then. So an accidental find led to the Mormon Church, but then people believing it led to the expose. They're not holy plates. They're giving you the Greek procedure for embalming a body. So, and then he had this experience with this angel Moroni. Well, in Asia, he tried to get in there. They wouldn't let him in because they have an angel named Moroni. And guess who the angel Moroni is? Moroni is the angel of death. The Greek embalming procedure for embalming the dead, and an angel of death, right and left hand. I don't think that's exactly a place that, people would get some heavenly experience. But they had enough people invested enough time and everything. They kept changing just a little here and there. So they have come closer to Christianity, but they still don't want to confess the old garbage. And actually,
Right.
any of us, when I came to the Lord, I had to confess what a scumbucket I had become. I had to confess, Lord, you were right. The Lord told me one time in church, God led me to church. I'd never heard the word church before. My brother and I had to ask my mom what a church is and what they do there. And
Wow.
I was having these experiences, and he told me to go to church. So I said, well, I knew I was talking to God, so I had to go to church. And then the preacher changed his sermon our first day there. And my brother was afraid they might find out we had Hebrew blood in us. And what did he do? His sermon changed to some people call Jews the Christ killers. And my brother and I know we turned red faced. How do they know we're here? You know? But all of that led to me learning more about God. And one day they preached on the prodigal son. And that day, the Peter syndrome got me. Because clear as a bell, the Lord told me, Noel, I've been to you a father, you've been to me a son, but you are the prodigal son. And I was, oh no, Lord, I know you too well. I'm not going to do anything like that. I'm just like Peter. I'm not going to do anything like that. And that's exactly what I did. I became the prodigal son. Now, I asked the Lord later, why? And he said, basically, how many battles and wars have been won or lost because one side or the other underestimated or overestimated the enemy? He opened that door and let me go that route so that I would rub shoulders with the enemy, I would know the enemy, and I would know how to defeat the enemy. So that helped me a little bit in my guilt because it did have a purpose, you know? And so I said, okay. And then he taught me things, and I went through all kinds of stuff to make sure I don't go that way again. God forbid. And
Right.
if God warns a person about something, don't argue with God. He knows what he's saying. We don't, but he does. You say, God, give me more clarity, or you say, God forbid. You say, God, what do I have to do to change it from something bad into something good? You
Right.
know, get the right directions so that it turns out right. Because prophecy is like a barometer. It's basically, so long as your heart is as it is now, this is what's coming. You stay on that direction, it's going to come. If you change direction, it's going to change. See? And if people read the Bible and study it, and the Torah or the Quran, it's all full of that kind of stuff. Because one deal in the Bible was your seed will be blessed forever. Well, some of that seed went through some really pretty tough times that people might not call a blessing. And that's because they got fat, lazy, and proud. And then we get that little wisdom bit. Pride goes before a fall. Say, oops, you know, and a haughty spirit. What happened? The Israelites. We are the ones. Peter didn't even think salvation was for anybody but the Jews. Well, that's kind of a haughty spirit, isn't it? See?
Yeah.
It's ours. It's not, you're going to, oh, everybody else going to hell. We're the only ones going to heaven, you know? And Peter went through some stuff that humbled him. And, you know, pride goeth before a fall and a haughty spirit before destruction. Well, they were in jail and they decided, you know what? Maybe we better start praising the Lord and get back in a right path here, you know?
Right.
So God turned it back around in the right direction, you know? And so that's all of my experiences were so that I could learn where mistakes were made, who made those mistakes, how they made those mistakes, know the enemy, know the area mistakes were made in. And that was one of Robert's biggest mistakes was he tried to do what John wanted done with political methods. And political methods are, quite frankly, a big mouth. And I personally, And when rockets are flying and bullets are flying, I have never seen a big mouth win anything. You better use your hands, your feet, your body, your legs, your shoulder, your head, pretty much everything with that mouth.
Right.
As a matter of fact, there was one time I had an experience that I myself and another guy, I thought of the briar patch. We had to go check out a prisoner of war camp, and they saw us. It was supposed to be dark the whole time, but the clouds broke, and they caught a glimpse of us. So we ran across this field where they had actually used napalm and everything. And I get this thought of, well, man, if I hit one of those trees and it jabs a stick in my eye, I could be blind. And I thought to myself, it doesn't matter, man. I'm taking the chance on the stick rather than the chance on those Jeeps and guns back there. And
Right.
then we saw this dirt road, and I saw what looked like a briar patch. And I thought of Brer Rabbit in the briar patch. And I said, come on, we're going in here. And we dove into that. And he says, well, there's snakes and stuff in there. I said, you know what? There might be a snake in here, but there's definite death and torture out there. I said, I'm going in the briar patch. Where are you going? He says, I'm going with you. And I said, if they come down the trail stabbing their bayonets, if you get stabbed, you got to let that bayonet go in and come back out without a peep. They cannot know they got you. If they fire and you get hit, you got to flat take it silently. And so we were in there probably about close to an hour. And then they finally went back to their place figuring, that nobody would go in there. And they didn't actually come into the briar patch. They figured themselves, nobody's going in there because they got that green snake over there. That baby bites you, you're dead. And that green snake loves the fields and the briar patches, and he's super deadly. But hey, that was our only chance, and we took it. And then we came back out, we got to our LZ, and silence was, even in the face of extreme danger, the method. And Robert, and most politicians, they just haven't learned that lesson, They're and MJ12 basically geared them into that because they have taken over almost all of your professional election and fundraising groups so that they can tell everybody who gets elected, we got you elected, this is what we want.
Right.
In addition to that, now they've geared all of them to take polls to see how everybody's doing. So now MJ12 doesn't have to eavesdrop as much as they used to because it's broadcast. But we fooled them because the landslide election for Reagan, both elections, and the landslide election for Trump caught them off guard. And I'm hoping to get to DC, and I hope people don't come in between us and negate things, because Trump said he wanted me on cabinet level advisor. And I told him, I said, I really need to be there because prayerfully now our group will have an example to we meet, we plan, and then we zip the lip. And we recruit extremely cautiously. And we basically trust only the most trustworthy. And many of them, if they're on our side, they might not know anything until we tell them it's time to go. Let's go do this. And then we do it. And that way they won't be able to tell the other side anything because it'll be done before the other side knows anything. See?
Right.
And that's what happened with Bush. When Bush formed Homeland Security, he was supposed to do 2 executive orders, form Homeland Security, manpower it with people we could trust, put congressional oversight over it, and then issue a second order making everybody, no matter what their previous status was, make everybody answer to the new agency. When he did both orders at once, we got nowhere. It was blocked. Matter of fact, they got more out of it because then Homeland Security became all powerful with the people that MJ12 wanted. And from Homeland Security on, FBI has gone downhill, weaponized, DOJ's gone downhill, weaponized. Everything in the judicial system has gone downhill, weaponized. Because one mistake from Bush handed the victory over to the enemy.
Senior Bush or Junior Bush?
That was the last Bush president, the one
Okay.
that formed Homeland Security.
Yeah.
Senior Bush was more or less he was trying to do some stuff, but he was a little bit too CIA oriented. He had too many CIA habits in him. So unfortunately, he actually helped the other side too in a lot of ways.
Right.
The thing is, and see, that's why I got to get to DC and retrain these people, because look at all of that. And even with us in our relationship with God, God said, don't be conformed to the ways of the world, be transformed, made something new. If we're going to do the job right, we have got to become a new person doing things a new way. We've got to learn the wisdom of that new path. And then we got to follow it and trust in it. And I need to get the DC to train those guys, because otherwise they'll be dead meat. They got DC-itis, and it's a fatal disease. And that's what got Robert. So, and that put an end to his stuff. Of course, he did. The family had a lot of the material that Robert had, and of course, Ted wanted to continue. But when they did what they did to Ted, and I actually communicated with the Kennedy family more than once, and I told them things going on, things that happened, why it happened a certain way, and I told them, you want me to testify, I'll testify. With me, I'm not afraid of saying something, because God has shown me he's giving me divine protection. There's still a lot of stuff I won't say until it's late in the game.
Right.
But if they knew I was going to testify, I would not be afraid of them taking over the computer of the plane, etc. Because I've run across a lot of them, and I've run across about 2 or 3 snipers. I've run across about, I think probably at least 2, maybe the third one might have been in both fields, that do what's called ordnance. In other words, explosives, a little explosive to make it look like a tire blowout when you're on a mountain road and stuff like that. And I know I ran across more than one CIA agent, and one of them was in a restaurant, and I went to the bathroom. I came back, I drank my tea and ate my food. And CIA agents have this certain little look. To me, when I see a CIA agent, I get the feeling of a weasel. CIA agents, I mean, they got a weasel spirit and a weasel way about them, And so he says, how do you feel? I said, I feel fine. I said, let me tell you something. I didn't worry about my drink and my food when I went in there, because if I drink any deadly thing, it shall not harm me. If I take some drug that somebody put in my food or whatever, it's not going to do anything to me, because I'm not doing it to test the Lord or tempt the Lord. And everything I'm doing as obedience to the Lord. So God has my back. You put something in my tea, God neutralized it. You put something in my food, God neutralized it. That guy turned red-faced and immediately said, I got to go. And he was out of there. So I know, and God showed me, I'm not going to go until the appointed time and place that he has set up for me. And I've known that actually for a long time, even when I was in. I took advantage of it a little bit until one day I heard clear as a bell, you can push me too far. And I went, uh-oh, stop playing with it, Noel. you better get serious, boy. You know it's there. you know, and and God gave me a picture of a baby with a machine gun. You know, and that's a lot of power. But if a baby pulls that trigger, that baby could kill a lot of people. And then he gave me the picture of a sniper with an automatic weapon who can take out a lot of enemy. And he literally said, "Are you going to stop being a baby? I got a high-powered rifle for you." you know, okay, Lord, I give up. Time to mature. Grow up, Noel. The fun is over. I mean, there's going to be more fun, but it's going to be on point.
Right.
You know, and so I can see. Matter of fact, Benny Hinn had fun with the power that God was pouring through him. But it's not supposed to be a circus. And
You're talking
because
about the televangelist.
televangelist,
Okay.
yeah, you know, and he was wielding some power. And I went to see him one time and talked to him, but his people, you know, oh, we don't know this guy, see. And but
Right.
I sent him a warning, a prophetic warning. Matter of fact, I sent him a prophetic warning. I sent, oh man, Tammy Faye and Jim, what was his last name? They had the televangelistic deal. Tammy Faye, and his name was
Tammy Faye Baker and
Baker.
Jim.
Yeah, Jim Baker. I sent
Yep.
Jim Baker a warning, and I sent the other evangelist that got in trouble a warning. What was his name? He did a bunch of evangelism. And all three of them, basically, I warned them about pride and everything, you know, and making a show of it and being haughty or full of pride. Jimmy Stewart, I think that was it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I put those letters in some of my files so they're saved. They could be time tested and proven to have been written before it took place. And I also warned America and sent out a warning in 1979 that a plague would hit homosexuals, and then it would spread to idolaters, fornicators, people doing unseemly things with animals and children. And when they think they found a cure, it's actually going to compound the problem. And they think they found a cure, and actually it's already compounded the problem, because now look how bold and out there homosexuality is. Oh, we got the cure. Go ahead and do it. Now they're trying to teach children. Hey, you're not sure if you're a boy or you're a girl. Doesn't matter. Just go ahead and be a girl. You're a boy, you go ahead and be a girl. You can
Right.
be a girl. It's okay. You know? So it has compounded the problem. And I believe the other thing that's going to do is it's going to create a bunch of carriers that they can't find.
Wow.
And that was 79. I wrote that. And the first AIDS case was something like 72. I mean, that was 79. And that first AIDS case was like 82.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a friend that I graduated with in 1980 who passed away quickly after graduation from HIV/AIDS.
Yeah. See, and then it started becoming known, and they were starting to work on like trying to find cures and everything in 82, and with more reports of it. And then it started getting out there. But September 79, nobody knew a thing about it. So that's the way God works. He gives a warning, and that's why, with me, I don't worry about the naysayers or the accusers or whatever, because there's enough in my life of solid proof. And they tried using smear and fear against me for decades. They would try to make people afraid of me, and some people were afraid of me. But I just kept going because I knew I was on the right track, and I was not going to be stopped or led astray. And I knew that in the end, God's going to make it all come out right and okay. Hey, they badmouthed Jesus. They had all kinds of accusations about Jesus.
Right.
So anytime that stuff happens to me, or if somebody out there listening, you're in good company. Keep going.
Right. No joke.
If you're stirring up a hornet's nest, then you're bothering the hornets.
Right. Let's get back to RFK. He was appointed Attorney General under his president's term, John F. Kennedy. So, what did that look like with his evolution from being, well, it was basically the Kennedy brothers against everybody else, what it amounted to during his term. Specifically, some of the topics that we talked about in the part 1 video with JFK, as far as taking us off the Federal Reserve and destroying the CIA, other things like that. So, what was RFK's relationship with JFK during the JFK administration, and then his evolution from Attorney General to his primary for running for the Democratic National Party nomination for president?
Oh, as that John knew he would need backup. Number one, because the whole John and Robert both basically planned on about a 16-year transition for America to solidify everything. 8 years with John and then 8 years with Robert. And then they knew they had Ted that could possibly come in for another 8 years if needed to really try to have some solid habits. And when people started noticing and thinking the wrong thoughts with John and Marilyn Monroe, then basically Jackie knew. Jackie was in on it. She knew a lot of stuff going on. John actually confided with Jackie a lot. And
okay, Jackie was in on what exactly?
On their plan for America.
Okay.
And on their plan to use Marilyn and Elvis Presley to gather information. John advised Jacqueline. He says, "Hey, Jacqueline, I'm going to have these late night interludes with Marilyn, and a lot of people might think there's something wrong going on, but I love you, and they think Marilyn is a dumb blonde, whereas she can report every word said, and she's excellent at doing it." And Elvis was actually very smart that way too. And so they advised her, and they let her, and then John let her know, "I'm letting you in. You can't tell anybody. You can't tell family. You can't tell anybody." And so actually, Jacqueline agreed to go along with it, even though there was a lot of danger. But then when things start getting kind of heavy, and basically the smut magazines or whatever start making more and more about Marilyn and John. And then Marilyn played with it a little bit with her "Happy Birthday, Mr. President." And she didn't want to play with that as a sex appeal toward him. She wanted to play with that as her sex appeal, with kind of like, say, endorsed by him, appealing to the world, though. Look how sexy I am, to get her star a little higher. Right. And that was one of her downfalls, because had she not done that, everything would have gone a lot smoother. And that's one of the reasons, basically, the Bible let us know self is a hateful enemy of God. We've got to get ourself out of there. We got to make sure it's not self leading us, and that's one of my prayers against myself all the time. But so then John says, "Hey, I've got to turn Marilyn over to you." And so to Robert. So they mentioned to Jacqueline that, okay, he's going to turn Marilyn over to Robert. And they had a little talk with Robert's wife. They didn't let her know as much as they let Jacqueline know. They just let her know that there was a lot of stuff going on, that wasn't what it appeared to be, and she should not worry about it. And Jacqueline assured her that Jacqueline knew more, so be at peace with it. Don't make a big fuss because it's important. We've got to keep the secret line going, etc. And Jacqueline and John, I mean, they had, I think, probably one of the best marriages, or if not the best, that I've ever known about or whatever. And they were they were what a lot of people would call soulmates, you know. And so then they turned Marilyn over to Robert, but that made Marilyn worry a little bit because now she's dealing with the attorney general. So the eyebrows of the mob and stuff raise a little bit, you know. But then they put a story together where basically, well, Marilyn, just tell them you're going to try and find out information for the mob.
Who's them?
The mob. In other words, Marilyn, tell the mob that you're going to try to basically get some information for the mob, and we'll give you a little tidbit once in a while that won't hurt what we're doing, but the mob will see that it's true.
Right.
And so,
yeah, she was actually, I don't. The rumors are that she allegedly had an affair with Sam Giancana.
Actually, Marilyn Monroe did not have an affair with anybody. Sex was not enjoyable at all for Marilyn.
Right.
For Marilyn Monroe, sex would be like you and me putting our hand on a table and somebody using a hammer and smashing one finger joint at a time.
Okay.
And if she and after her little thing with I think with Jesse Helm, he was in the Senate hearing committee for Intel and all that, and he forced her to have sex with him or he would ruin her husband's career and her, etc. And the maids, they actually said they expected to find a mutilated body. There was so much blood. They couldn't see how a person could bleed that much and still be alive.
Right. So that was the late Jesse Helms.
Yeah. You know, and I believe Marilyn actually went from there to her doctor and got blood put into her because she was so weak, you know? So yeah, no, and Marilyn, that's why Marilyn didn't have children or anything. She had a female problem where there was no way she was willingly having sex with anybody. You know, she was the sex siren, built sexy, but you know, absolute everything on the one side and absolute can't go there on the other.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
But and so they basically told, you know, and then they got with Marilyn, well, you'll be kind of like a double agent, except you'll be loyal to us. You'll only pass on to them what we want them to believe and what we want them to know. And then you'll have credibility with them. You'll be famous and safe with them. But then the mob started digging into stuff more. And especially with Robert trusted a couple of people a little too much. And he may have even talked to Johnson. Johnson basically, in my book, had no guts. You know, the big Texan.
Wow, that's a statement right there.
Yeah, you know, big Texan playing macho man, and I think I could raise my fist to him, and he'd probably cower like a whimpering baby. You know, as far as, I mean, that's a symbolic type of a thing. You know, he might, you know, like, but yeah, push come to shove, if he was really facing danger, he was. I wouldn't want him on a battlefield. Not guarding my back.
Wow.
Yeah. Nope. And that's why. So then Bobby talks to Johnson a little bit, thinking he could trust him, not knowing whatever. And then Johnson gets scared by the mob So he divulges a little bit of stuff that disagrees with stuff and raises their suspicions. So then Bobby gets wind that the mob is getting suspicious. So Bobby and John had both at one point told Marilyn, chill a little bit. And that's where they actually came up with the plan that I adopted. And I think it came from the good Lord above, where you push to a point where, okay, the other side is getting alarms going off. Then you back off until all the alarms are off. Then you start up again and push a little further, and then you back off. And then you push a little further, and you back off. And the thing is, actually, MJ-12 has adapted that, because what have they done in society? They push to the point of Kennedy assassination, and then they blame everybody else, and they back off and try to go low profile. Then they push to the point of Robert on a real quick deal and back off real quick, and they come up with their excuses, etc. But then they push again and keep pushing for separation of church and state to be more enforced than what it was intended to be, to be broader spread. And then they pushed on a few of the chief justices and a few others, and they put them through a little bit of hell, and a few nominees with some false accusations. Like there was one Supreme Court justice where one gal accused him, and I think he failed affirmation or whatever because of her accusations. And he was, what was his name? I think he was before Roberts, but I can't remember his name. But there was one that fell through because of impropriety accusations from one of his gals that was like a paralegal or whatever for him. And there was all these accusations, and they were false accusations. So they pushed that to show people how much power they've got if they want to. And they've been doing the same thing. Push back up, push back up, push back up. You know? And what have they done when they got caught on stuff in DC? They instigated Watergate. They instigated the one where the reporters got involved, and they had the thing with Hillary and Bill, Whitewater,
Right.
Watergate, Whitewater, etc. And that was all basically push back up, push back up, push back up. And then when they push and back up, they also tell like Hillary and Bill, hey, we've got you covered. I actually got Bill to help me out because I couldn't tell anybody anything for a long time because everything I knew was classified, eyes only, majestic level, boom. So if I spoke up, if I would have said this like years ago, I'd be in Leavenworth for breach of security. Hillary got away with major breaches of security, top secret stuff on her emails and everything. Right. See? Okay. I would have been in prison, but I said, hey, you know what? Bill Clinton is the commander in chief. So I gave him a report about me, who, what, when, where, why, and how, and who I really was, what was really going on. And I said, you know what? I've been out now for a while. I deserve to get my benefits, and I deserve to have the truth known, and I need your help. Because I figured if he was enough of a rebel to dodge the draft and then run for president, maybe he was a politician stupid enough to send this to the places I needed it to go. And he did. He sent it to Records Corrections, Department of the Army, the DOJ, DOD, etc. It's when he sent that in open communication, boom. I'm declassified in those areas.
Wow.
The president has the right to declassify. And when he put that in public records, it was declassified. That's why they knew his weakness with sexual stuff. Nobody walks into the president's office, hikes their dress, and puts a cigar in their vagina. You know what I mean? She was put up to do that as an agent, and they knew Bill would go for it. And then
Wow.
they had him with their smear and fear, and they had validity. But they still stayed together, you know, and not that much happened to him, because then MJ12 covers him, covers Hillary. Hey, you guys need to stick together, because what you're really looking for is, one, you want your kids, both of you want to enjoy your kids, and both of you want power. So
Right.
make a power partnership. You don't even have to sleep together in bed at home. You just got to look like a marriage, a good marriage to the public, and keep the rest of it off the record and in private. And that's what they did. You never saw a whole bunch of lovey-dovey between Bill and Hillary in public.
Right.
It was more like, we're married. Hello.
Yeah, that was like a business arrangement.
Yeah. See? You know, and then they had the jokes that that Hillary had an affair with Buddy. And Buddy was their dog. As
Oh,
and
okay.
the joke was Hillary had an affair with Buddy, and people look at you, and it was her revenge for Bill's affair with Monica.
Wow.
And when I heard that joke, I said, well, DC is definitely going to the dogs.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's already there.
Yeah, it is.
No,
Been there a long time.
and no disrespect to the canine.
Yeah, yeah, yep, yep. A dog is better behaved than most politicians in DC.
Right.
We're trying to get some good ones in there, and actually, America needs to wake up, because the real bad ones are the ones who are just throwing all the trash out there. Those who are slinging mud have their hands in the mud pit. And if their hands are in the mud pit, where are they standing? They?
Right.
So, you know, I mean, Jesus didn't sling a lot of mud. He kept everything truthful and accurate,
Right.
and provable. And a matter of fact, that's one of the things that we need in Washington. And when they told me they were going to destroy my opponent with a bunch of rumors and then a bunch of accusations just before the election, and I said, what about libel and slander laws? They said, libel and slander laws do not apply in politics. I looked at them. I said, are you kidding me? I thought libel and slander laws applied everywhere for everything. They said, no, not in politics. And I checked it out. They were right. Libel and slander laws need to apply in politics. Now, and the thing is, people don't have to worry about, well, you couldn't say anything, because the Supreme Court made a decision, and it's in the Supreme Court decisions. Truth is an infallible defense against libel and slander. If it's truth and you don't want it out there, you shouldn't have done it.
Right.
So libel and slander can apply in politics, and it won't basically make people hush up about something bad. The only thing is, if they're going to say something bad about somebody, it better be true, and they better be able to prove it.
Right.
So you do your investigation and get your evidence. And everything I've said about them, I'm not actually running for office. But I'm not worried about them suing me for libel and slander because it's truth. And I have stashed evidence all over the world, multiple copies. And they don't want a public trial with me bringing my evidence to trial
Right.
and proving beyond a doubt I'm right.
All right. So let's go into the Civil Rights Act. So, how much participation or play did RFK have in that particular act?
Actually, John and Robert both had a lot to do with that. They knew Martin Luther King and they knew some of those leaders, and they wanted to integrate the South. They did not want, like some of the state militias of the South, to have another civil war. And they had secret meetings with Martin Luther King and other leaders. And in those meetings, they said, hey, we need to integrate the South. We need a peaceful path to do it, as peaceful as possible. Well, one of the cooperatives was John Donne and John Donne's 18th sermon. That was one of the, and if I remember rightly, I think John Donne was a white guy. I think I'm right on that. And I don't remember if he was white or mixed or what, but he wrote the 18th sermon, and now it's in Bartlett's famous quotations.
Huh.
No man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a part of the main, a piece of the whole. If a clod be washed away by the sea, Europe is the Europe is the less, as well as if a manner of thyself or thy neighbor were. Therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. In other words, we are all one. Black, white, red, yellow, etc.
Right.
That was one of the first major waves of we're all one. And then some of the preachers started grabbing there is no red, white, yellow, etc., male or female in God, right? We're all one. See? You find
Yep.
John Donne's 18th sermon in there.
I was actually looking up when MLK was assassinated,
Oh yeah.
April 4th,
Yep.
1968.
In Mississippi.
Yeah. And then 2 months later, almost to the day, June 5th, 1968, RFK was assassinated in California.
Yeah. And they were working together to further that movement. And there again, MJ12 used all of their KKK connections. MJ12 has financed KKK, and they have financed all kinds of hate groups because their whole thing is divide and conquer. Their view, there can be no unity until they are totally in charge of all unity.
All right. What do you know about Sirhan, if anything?
Well, at that there, as a matter of fact, I'm going to get on that. Because they start spreading out, okay, they started using CIA to train terrorists, etc. They created almost every terrorist group that has been created. So they have all the info on all of them. And then they've got their leader who's connected to them, who gets privileges, etc. And that leader then has another leader on down the line. So they knew where to feed what they wanted to feed to set up getting rid of Robert Kennedy. Because why? Number one, they had his schedule. There again, too much information out there. They had his schedule like 2, 3, 4 months in advance.
Right.
So it's real easy to take 60 or 90 days. They've got the psychological profile on everybody. I was also a psychological profiler for them. And I would profile if they did or said this, the other person is more than likely going to do or say this.
Right.
And they've got profilers working for them. So they've got basically normally a pool of a minimum of 30 to 40 possibles. So they put out the information to those 30 or 40, and for them, they use the biblical plant abundantly and harvest abundantly. So they would put out information depending upon what the job coming up was. In this case, they would put it out to the possibles who are like Sirhan, the Islamics, etc. Hey, we've got this agenda. How would you like to kill a very important American and be famous killing a very important American, etc.? And then the ones who responded most adamantly, they evaluate, and they evaluate the one who is most likely to do it and yet either stay quiet about it or they could get rid of him. The vulnerability or the reliability. Vulnerability is one leg they stand on. Reliability is the other leg they stand on. And they've built all of those groups since and fed them since 47. We never had a plane hijacking until the 60s.
Right.
See? And it was about 67. So 67, 68. So they spent 20 years building the philosophy and the people who would do it. That's why they're working on our children today. Our children today are key to their plan in 20 years.
Right.
See? And I found that out when I was in. And they said, yeah, the children of today are the leaders of tomorrow. That's why they've got a 200-year plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Think
See?
out 50 years at a time. Now, let me ask you this. Who was behind the RFK assassination, if you know? Or do you have any speculation?
MJ-12 orchestrated it, and they used some of the KKK leaders.
Okay.
Yeah, some of the main people orchestrating that were the KKK leaders on the police force there, and the Grand Dragon. The Grand Dragon at the time was very involved. I don't know if he's still alive or not, but the Grand Dragon of that day was very involved, as were his right and left hand people. And then their connections in the law enforcement there.
What a way to throw off the scent by using a Palestinian at the time, which was, a rare nationality in the United States. There weren't.
Right.
Yeah.
and that's where they'll use the KKK. Then they use the one group, the terrorist group they've basically fathered to get their killer, and then they use the KKK, who believes you got to be pure white, to make sure that killer either goes to prison, gets killed, or is dealt with. However, and they would threaten that person, hey, you speak out, we're not going to protect you. We'll let the KKK have you, etc. So they play all of those. Matter of fact, it's the triple bind, what we used to call it in psychological stuff, the triple bind. They're always playing two ends against the middle. And they can circle that way. They can play two ends against the middle, right and left, two ends against the middle, front and back. That's why they'll surround an enemy, and two ends against the middle, right and left might be race. Two ends against the middle, front and back might be politics or law.
So Sirhan obviously is still in prison. Some, Jesus, 32 Jesus, he's been in there 56 years,
Yeah.
going
Yep.
on 57. That's crazy.
Yep.
And he'll never get out. That's so
No.
sad.
But by the same token, nothing's happened to him. Probably in protective custody most of the time with some extra benefits. And he knows he can live out a good life watching TV per se, etc., not really having to do a bunch of work or whatever, as long as he stays silent.
Wow. And he has been silent.
Yeah.
You know, you would think after 20, 30 years, you'd come out and break your silence, but he has yet to do that.
Not after they show him what they've done to John Kennedy and a few others.
Right. Yeah. MLK, RFK.
Yeah. Yeah. See, and the group doing that actually started as far back as Lincoln.
Wow. Is that a secret society?
The Illuminati were around
Okay.
in Lincoln's day. And the
Right.
Illuminati were the ones with the slave thing and everything else. And they basically wanted war with the South so they could go take the wealth of the South.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. A lot of people don't realize the machinations of politics and banking, how they intermarry to benefit each other. Some of these marriages are, 100% arranged marriages. Hey, this is our son, this is our daughter. We're going to put them together.
Yeah.
They're going to merge the corporations.
Yeah. It's been going on since the first kings.
Yeah, absolutely.
And before kings, it was going on between tribes.
Yeah. Same deal.
Yeah.
Wow, remarkable. Okay, I know we're just over an hour, and I know you don't have very much time left before you have to run your errand. So let me ask you this: what's your belief had the assassination on RFK not been fulfilled by Sirhan Sirhan? What would that outlook be like? Would they
RFK had every detail of John's plan. He and John had gone over it probably 1,000 times, and they had talked to finance people. He would have picked up on the same advisors that John Kennedy had, and he would have implemented everything John wanted. And that's one of the reasons they had Ted as backup, because they figured even if, like John knew he was risking his life.
Right.
And, he did it willingly. And Jacqueline was hoping he would make it through. The way they did it is really what just blew Jacqueline away. If they would have killed him and Jacqueline wasn't there, that would have been different. When they killed him and blood and brains that he had splattered on her, that really that blew her brain out the back door.
Right. Yeah. Traumatized her.
Yeah. And see, post-traumatic stress, matter of fact, I work together with ASU because I long-term stress does it and impactful stress. And I had a couple of impactful stress deals too. And that's why my brain works the way it does now. But I learned how to basically think with a limp. And I told ASU doctors and stuff, I said, you know what? I said, because I know who I was as a kid. I know who I am now. I know what I've had to do to kind of like get on top of it, etc. And I said, it's like somebody rewired my brain. And they did a study, and they even had camera stuff inside the brain. ASU did a fantastic study, and they've studied a bunch of poisonous critters and everything. And ASU found out post-traumatic stress is not a disorder, it is a syndrome. Long-term stress or impactful stress, your brain emits bad electrical chemical signals, and they damage or destroy the receivers that they go into. Once those receivers are destroyed, they got to go into different receivers. So then that makes a drastic change. When those receivers are damaged, there's anywhere from minor to major changes because of the damage. So it is actually now legally and medically post-traumatic stress syndrome. It is brain damage. That's why when people tell a veteran or somebody who's been through real impactful stress, oh, just be quiet. Oh, just calm down. You can do it.
Right.
That is like waving a red flag in front of a bull, because that person knows they have normal moments and they know they have these reactions that they just cannot flip a switch and control. With best thing, anybody knows somebody who has post-traumatic stress, that person who knows it, stay calm. With a person who has post-traumatic stress, constant calm, constant on their side, constant understanding, constant being as helpful as you can is what calms that person down.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why I try to stay away from drama. Doesn't matter what it looks like.
Yeah, there's a lot of films I won't go watch. I couldn't watch a Vietnam film for decades.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and when God had me go to Vietnam for ministry and everything, matter of fact, when I got back, I told McCain, I said, guess what? The Vietnam War is still on, and this time we're winning. Because I went to Vietnam and my weapons of warfare were spiritual. And I
Right.
got an audience with the high communist leaders who became Christians. And Vietnam today is having a Christian wave revival that is just flooding the country.
Yeah, I've spoken to people who've recently been to Vietnam, and they love it. Love it.
Yeah,
Affordable, friendly people,
that's
great
right.
food.
Yep. And I would say probably Vietnam is already 60 to 70, maybe even 80% Christian. Real Christians, not just book learning or religious, but people who have really surrendered to the Lord and who are asking the Spirit to guide them and protect them, and who are having a relationship with Jesus and with one another.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they love Americans now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, they're very successful over here.
Yeah.
They stick together. They're like the Jews. They support each other, fund each other. No interest loans to their own culture. Yeah.
Well, even over there, when I had experiences with some of the old, and some of them were old VC, and they knew my code name, and we hugged, and they said, when you were in Vietnam, we were looking for you, and it sure wasn't to hug you.
Right. Yeah. It wasn't a hug.
You know, and they were literally, man, we love you now.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to add to the RFK story before we close?
More than likely, if people want, people check on all of these, because at times it's like my brain will kind of like focus on where we are now, but when we're covering something else, I'll remember or have like a flashback of something that might be RFK related, that what we're talking about spawned that memory. It's matter of fact, people ask me when I got back and stuff, because I had like a week of lost time and everything. And then I would have these flashbacks and flashes of memory. And I'd check it out, and all the names checked out and everything. And they would ask me, did you ever see that movie Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Right.
I said, no. They said, man, you got to watch it. And that movie was out probably 12, 14 years before I finally watched it.
Okay.
But it is. I will get flashes like that. And then I check it out, and, oh, that's real. And so that's kind of how things are coming up. And then the more it comes up, the more I remember. But I'm not letting anybody hypnotize me anymore. Matter of fact, I talked to some people who know some of the old outfit and everything, and they know some of that stuff going on, and they are against MJ-12, and they're uniting some of the American Indian tribes for more power. And one of their people asked me if I knew this certain name, and I said, man, that sounds familiar. And I said, how old is he? And they told me. And I said, that's the guy that was the psychologist type when I went in for my debriefing. He's a psychologist hypnotist. He's the one who hypnotized me and did this programming stuff. And the guy said, that's exactly correct. He is very famous and known for that. And they knew I couldn't remember the name. But then that name sounded familiar. And as soon as he said the guy's age, it matched the age of the guy I went in to see. And I said, the last thing I remembered seeing was that wheel where it goes into the center. The bob didn't do anything. The little balls going click didn't do anything, but he used that to relax me. And I talked to another psychologist, and he laughed, and he had a name for that. And he said, yeah, in psychology for hypnosis, we use that, and it's called this name. So things I have remembered have all been accurate and validated. Right on down the line.
Right. Yeah, I get those same things. Well, I'll have a memory flashback that I had long forgotten. So,
Yep.
yeah, totally get it. Totally understand it. All right. Part 3 will be on Senator Edward, fondly known as Teddy Kennedy. And this concludes part 2 of the Kennedy brothers 3-part series, John F. K., RFK, and Edward Kennedy.
Yeah, we'll have to call it a series of recall of the deep state.
Yeah.
Total recall of the deep state.
Right. And as I put the book together, start editing it, because I download the transcripts of all these conversations that you and I have on the show, I'll, as you remember these things, I'll put them back into that particular topic when we categorize everything by chapters. All right. Well, thank you for being here. I will let you run your errand. When you get back, text me, and we'll get you set up on recording the Edward Kennedy show.
Amen.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Have a blessed one.
Yep. All right, sir. Thank you. Enjoy your day. I'll see you in a little bit.
God bless.
Yes, sir. All right. There you have it, folks. Noel Benoist, you're getting a firsthand, you can call it a story. Basically, it's his story. It's Noel's regarding his interactions and contacts, communications with everything that was happening back in the 60s. Noel was recruited, I believe he said that from 64 or 65 to 68, he was with the NSA and the Men in Black. So we'll get into that more in the next video with Edward Kennedy. But I just want you to know that he was in there. So the topics we'll be covering in future videos, we're definitely going to address the MLK assassination. We'll also talk about Jackie Kennedy, or Bouvier Kennedy Onassis, as well as Marilyn Monroe, which we constantly allude to due to the subject matter. And we will talk about MK Ultra, the Warren Commission report on the JFK assassination. We can probably talk about the Church Committee as well. Probably a good one. Let me write that down. NSA creation, National Security Association, or administration rather. And we can talk about Roswell and the Church Committee, as what we've already addressed. So I have some good stuff coming up for you. As always, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have not yet, and you really want to change your health, your lifestyle, you want better water, you want better beverages, better food products, cleaner air, cleaner water, etc., I encourage you, go down to the description of this video. There will be a link where you can nominate Dr. Ed Group to Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to change everything. So here is the banner. So and if you don't know yet, you need some mushroom therapy to support your immune system for you, your dog, your cat, livestock, or any other animal, hit me up at fearlessfloydpets.com. You can email me with any of your questions, fearlessfloydpets@gmail.com. Here's the banner. All right, I'm going to close out the show with a video for you guys. We're going to talk about Anne's book. You're going to see pictures. It'll say it's a second edition book, but when I did the video, it was actually 2 volumes, volume 1, volume 2 of the second edition. The third edition is nothing but the 2 volumes being combined into 1 volume. That's the third edition. So the video you're going to see is going to show the cover or covers front and back for the second edition, but it is the third edition that you will be receiving. You can go to the fearlessfloydshow.com, check that out. If you want to reach me, I am the Fearless Floyd Show across every social media platform. The Fearless Floyd Show at yahoo.com is my email. If you'd like to call me from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, my number's on the bottom of my homepage at thefearlessfloydshow.com. All right. Let me see if I can get this to play. I've never quite done this, so here we go. I don't know why it's not playing. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Fearless Floyd Show. And as you see in front of me, we have Anne LaFleur's second edition, volume 1 and volume 2. And we're going to go through the table of contents. Show you exactly what's in these 2 volumes. What we're looking at right now is the table of contents from the upcoming 2025 third edition, which will be nothing but the combining of volume 1 and volume 2 into one singular volume. So this is what you're looking at here. And this is a work in progress. I'm still looking for another publisher. But basically what comes in, you have the cover page, you have an advertising page, Library of Congress certification, title page, dedication forward, and then you have the Revocable Living Trust. And this is all the stuff that's available in there. You guys can see this. This book is available at thefearlessfloydshow.com/store. Ebooks are available. The soft cover books are available, or both. Or you can get a package, the books and a class or classes, whatever you want to take. Again, everything is available over at the fearlessfloydshow.com website. If you need to reach me about any questions concerning this, you can always reach me at thefearlessfloydshow@yahoo.com. And I'm catching up to some of you guys. So if you've emailed me or texted me, I'm getting to you. I've just had tons of texts and emails to deal with regarding my accident last month. I mean, insurance companies, doctors, physical therapy, repair shop. It's just been a whirlwind of emails, phone calls, and texts. I have to go through all my text and knock off all the garbage out of there. There are a minimum of 7 different trusts in here, as you see: revocable, irrevocable, foreign, charitable remainder trust, college education trust, express trust, land trust, and here we are at the end. Also has a fee schedule in there. And there you go. Those are the table of contents for these books. And again, these books are available. Fearless Floyd Show. And there you go. I gave you the little Cliff Notes version of that particular video. I'm going to redo that video with the 3rd edition. So I know that's a little stale, talking about June and May of 2024. So definitely needs to be updated. So I'll update that for you. So if you want to pick up Ann's book, it's available at the Fearless Floyd Show /store. To give you guys a quick review of all that, I'll run through this real quickly. A lot of people do not like using PayPal as their service provider. So you can easily go to the fearlessfloydshow.com /donations -payments. You just click over here to these 3 bars. It'll be this link right here. And if you'd like to pay by credit card, you just click on that or shoot the QR code. And you can pay by Square. That's every major credit and debit card. I also accept Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, as well as Zelle. So you can either use my phone number or this email address. Just send me a Zelle. So there's alternative methods of getting whatever you need from my website. Here we go. This is the fearlessfloydshow.com /store. We are accepting debit and credit cards. This information is for me and me alone to be able to send you whatever you need, or if you have an email that doesn't have any association with who you are, it's anonymous. Same thing as a handle, moniker, or whatever on social media. You may be Joe Blow on YouTube or Joe Blow on Telegram or Facebook or wherever, and we're interacting, and then you send me an email with your real name. I cannot correlate the two. So that's why I asked for this information. Basically, here's links to break it down per category. Here are the books. If you want the softcover book, $259. The ebook PDF is $249. A combination of both is $359. These are Minister Jesse Henley's P.O. Box classes. There are 5 modules for this. If you want a private consultation, hit us up. If you're going to ship outside the continental United States, that includes Canada, Mexico, Europe, South America, Australia, New Zealand, UK, it's a $50 charge. So that's about average, give or take. I'll eat it on my side if I have to. If you're just the person who has to have everything, This is the Fearless Floyd Freak Out. Everything I have in the store. It's all yours. And here's a balance of Jesse's P.O. Box classes. We also have package deals if you want to get package 4. For those of you who don't know, P.O. Box class module 1, this one right here, this is free on YouTube. The presentation is free. The Q&A, questions and answers video also is free. So you can go watch this module 1, and if you want, you can come get the balance of the 4 remainders. Package 4 for $40. You can buy them a la carte individually. This is my FOIA class regarding the 1098F, which I need to go to the IRS personally and talk to them about that because I've talked to them on the phone. This is a private membership association class done by Ann LaFleur. So if you are thinking about setting up a private membership association, this is the class you want for $79. You know, you don't have to take this class. You're more than welcome to go to David Straight, and his whole shebang over there and pay $2,500 or get that $500 discount and pay $1,999, $1,999 for a private membership association. Or you can come over here for $79 and you can get an extensive class on private membership associations. Here's an autographed softcover book by Ann and myself for $3.99. If you've taken one of Ann's classes and you would like to get the book, the ebook, there's a discount for this. I don't know why it says $249. It should be a little bit less than that, but is what it is. Here's some package deals that I run just year round. Package 4, which is the ebook, 101 through 501 PMA, and the VCR class. Package 3 is the ebook and 101, 201, and 401 classes. Package 2 is the ebook, 101 and 201 classes. Package 1 is the ebook and the 101 class. If you want to take the classes a la carte, here is the Revocable Living Trust class 101, all about deeds in 201. So if you're going to have a transfer, warranty deed, whatever, all about deeds. Mortgages and foreclosures right here in 301 trust class. 401 is on irrevocable trusts. So this is a very extensive class, a lot of information. If you take this class, be prepared. Here's the 98 foreign trust class. It's 501 VCR, voucher, coupon, remittance class. This is where you utilize the coupon that's attached to your billing statement. Usually you cut it off and send it in with a check or write your credit or debit card information on there and send it back. So this is a process utilized to discharge your bills. I will pre-warn you, it is not a one-shot deal. Sometimes it is. Most of the time it's not. They're going to fight you tooth and nail. And lastly, we have every class except Jesse's P.O. Box classes. Those aren't included. But I'll tell you what, you pick this up, I'll throw those in. How's that? If you need a CUSIP number for a particular account, or you want a Be Fearless bumper sticker, there you go. Firm mailing books. These are 52 weeks, 10 entries per page, 52 pages. If you're not familiar with a firm mailing book, probably should get caught up. I did a video on that on YouTube. And the Himalayan salt lamps. So there you go. That's just a brief coverage. Well, looks like I wasn't even sharing my screen. Yep, there we go. So sorry about that. Let me, here we go. I apologize. Here's everything right here so you can just see it. There you go. That's it in a nutshell. All right. Thank you very much for watching. This video will be published on Friday, which is December 13th. Yep. Friday the 13th. This video will be published, and then we will do the Senate part 3 of Kennedy. That will debut next Tuesday, and we'll carry on from there. I don't know how many of these I'll do a week. I'm reaching out to other people for guest appearances. I know the holiday season's coming up, so people's time and energy are going to be depleted. So we'll see what we can do for you. Thanks for watching. You know what to do. Like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, leave a comment below, and all that other mumbo jumbo. I'll see you when I see you. Make America great again. Don't forget about the 2026 elections. We have to keep the pedal on the metal to get where we want to go to make this country great again and healthy again. Thank you, everyone. I will see you tomorrow, or actually Tuesday. Y'all have a great week.